Depth tricks. I don't use depth tricks. So, how does this work then? Well, you all had some theories, some a bit absurd, but the most popular ones were as followed. So, a lot of you thought I was using a resource pack. That's not the case. I was not using any edited textures. Another popular one was maps. Now, I can sort of see where people were going with this, but again, this is wrong. First of all, maps display in item frames which are not a full block themselves, and the maps are even smaller than that. Secondly, maps only have a few colours they can use. They can't use all colours. They can only use grey, green, a bit of blue, a bit of red, maybe a bit of yellow, and that's about it. My version is full colour, and this would have been really difficult to do in my opinion. Another popular one was a perspective trick. So I think what people were saying was there was a massive gap, and back way in the distance there was a massive display that made it look like it was 8 by 8 pixels. That's not it either. Another one, and this one I was a bit confused as to why it was so popular, but player heads. Now I can kind of see where you're going because they are 8 by 8 pixels, but player heads aren't a full block. My display was a full block, and this is wrong. I don't think there's any way to use player heads. The real solution to this lies in our old friend falling sand. So this trick was actually discovered by the Firelanders. If you want to see the details of how it works, I suggest going to their channel and checking out their video. But basically you can create these ghost blocks with falling sand, which aren't actual blocks, and because they're not actual blocks, you actually have quite a lot of freedom of placement. So basically they aren't stuck to the grid like a regular block. You can move them around, so as you can see it's off center. So I've used this in a way to create these kind of micro blocks. So if I click this button or this lever, you will see two of these. Now there's a bit of a graphical issue going on here. When you overlap two or more, you get this horrible graphical issue, and I needed to fix that. So what was the solution? Now, this isn't a depth trick, but it does use depth. So if I click this button, you'll see we actually get two little pixels up in that corner. So you have a yellow one and a pink one. So basically, when you approach them really close, you can see that the yellow one is actually a little bit nearer to us than the pink one is. So the pink one is a little bit further back, but when you're actually viewing it from head on, you can't really see unless you get really close. So basically, this is the pattern that I followed on each of the pixels. So the two on the edge can be at normal distance. Then the next two need to be a little bit further back, and so forth. And likewise, if you want to go down a level, basically you just push all of these back one like this. And I just repeated that process. So when you actually stare at it head on, it looks flat. And each little miniature pixel can be adjusted to your liking. You may be wondering why the resolution is 8 by 8 and perhaps not bigger. Well, there is actually a reason for that. So falling sand can actually be moved in increments of a maximum of 1/32nd, 1/32nd, I don't know. But basically what that means is, if I show you this again, basically you see that tiny little smidgen, that is 1/32 the size or the width of a block. So technically this display could be 32 by 32, but why isn't it? Well, that all lies in entities. So if you take 8 by 8, that's 64. That is 64 entities. These entities need to be present constantly, so that's 64 entities that are present. That's not too intensive. 16 by 16 is around 250, which may be bearable, but it's going to make your computer whine a little bit. 32 by 32 is more than 1,000 entities on screen at a time. Now that is going to probably bring your computer to your knees, to its knees. So whilst theoretically 32 and 16 resolutions are possible, they will destroy your computer most likely. On to the little animations. So if I click on this button, we will actually get hello. There we go, a little hello message. Likewise, we can go on to this one and we can get the snake. we go. So lovely snake. Click on this one, we get a happy face. This one is the angry face. This one is the sad face, I think. And this one is the surprised face. So how did I do this? Well, basically, if you look over there, I've got a big grid of command blocks. And this is actually a map of the screen. So I had to map out each individual pixel, which took quite some time. And once I actually mapped each of them out, I did a bit of an animation. I'll show you that right now. So after having mapped them out, I could easily just copy and paste each of these grids and create an animation. So each one represents one frame, and it's quite easy to do, really. I wasn't really very imaginative with my smiley faces, but you could do anything you want with it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to offer this map for download, if you want to take a closer look. I think this is actually a really fantastic little contraption, and I would love to see people using it. In fact, actually something I'd love to see would be if there was perhaps some kind of maybe a filter or something. For instance, if I go onto the hello, it'd be quite cool if there was some kind of filter to actually you write a message and it turns into this little computer screen, because I think that would look really cool on those sort of space adventure maps or something. So it's pretty cool, and as you can see, I can walk up to it. You can see the grid pattern, but that's only if you get really close. If you're about this distance, it looks just basically flat. So it's pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed this explanation, and I hope you use this as well. See you later.